this is my review of Kaitou Joker. Okay, so this episode shows Joker and Hachi going to steal the Recollection of Napoleon, a painting that is actually locked inside a special vault. I'll get to that in a minute, but in any case, it starts with as it turns out, this Recollection of Napoleon is actually at the Louvre. So Joker and Hachi actually go to Paris to go steal it. And as they're getting ready, as they're kind of waiting for it, because I'll get to that in a minute. Hachi decides to marvel at everything that's going on around him, which Joker admits is kind of embarrassing and tells him to knock it off. And all while Joker is actually painting a painting of the Eiffel Tower, and Hachi points out that it's good for him to have hobbies, but then sees how bad Joker's painting actually is, and can't help but laugh at it. Although Joker is in denial about how bad it is, pointing out that it is indeed a work of art, and is curious as to why nobody can actually see it. But in any case, they decide to leave the painting behind and get ready to go steal the. They actually proceed to go and steal the Recollection of Napoleon. Meanwhile, Oniyama, who has since gotten comparable intelligence that Joker is going to be in Paris, decides to go to the Louvre and decides to go internationally to Paris to actually stop Joker in his tracks. And even calls Momo and Yango not to worry about him, and pointing out that he'll be back soon, and that he knows Joker like the back of his hand, and knows that Joker is most likely going to be in Paris. And then proceeds to go to the Louvre. Meanwhile, the curator receives an advance notice about how the Recollection of Napoleon is going to be stolen, and the curator faints. The curator doesn't take the news very well, and he actually faints and collapses, at which point Oniyama decides to introduce himself. So obviously the curator is a little confused as to why a Japanese police officer is in Paris, but Oniyama confirms that he is indeed there to catch Joker, and admits that no matter how far he has to go or what lengths he has to go to, he will indeed catch Joker in one way or another, and then proceeds to ask the curator to show him where the painting of Napoleon actually is, of the Recollection of Napoleon actually is. So the curator takes him to a special room which holds the 100-year vault. Which is the titular vault of the episode. And the reason it's called the 100-year vault is because it is designed in a way where you can only get in and out in the vault for 10 minutes every 100 years. It is designed to automatically open up every 100 years, so that everybody can make sure that what's inside is still there. And then it's just, mostly so that you can watch it, and so that you can watch and see it and actually observe it over those 100 years. Then everybody takes note of what's in there and what's been stolen, and then they pass it along for the next generation so that they can actually make sure that everything's fine and safe in there. And when Oniyama questions him as to whether or not the 100-year vault would still have all of its treasure in it, he then proceeds to show Oniyama a painted catalog, revealing that everything they have in that vault is in the catalog and should be present and accounted for, and that's how they actually check to make sure everything is safe and sound. And Oniyama inspects it to make sure everything is legit, but then remarks that when Joker does show up, that the Recollection of Napoleon painting will actually be in there. At which point we're introduced to a man named Viridian. He is a Parisian detective, and his entire thing is art. He is very much an art-based detective. That's his entire character, and he refers to his work as carrying it out beautifully, as he puts it. But as he explains, he then proceeds to explain that he's there to assist Oniyama, or should he say? But then reveals that the Oniyama they've been talking to is actually Joker. Case in point, Oniyama knew just from the name that the Recollection of Napoleon was indeed a painting. And B, he's also a good friend of Oniyama and actually has him on speed dials. And case in point, he actually calls the real Oniyama, who is revealed to actually be at the Louvre himself, but is actually running a ramen stand far away from where the 100-year vault actually is. So, and that actually becomes a recurring thing where he's selling ramen, and in an effort to catch Joker, who later in the episode is craving some ramen and goes there, but Oniyama is just kind of banking on the fact that Joker will at one point come there to eat some ramen, because he knows Joker can't resist ramen, so he's just kind of there. And that is the extent of his entire character throughout this episode. We don't see much of him, and that's the only thing he does in this episode. But in case Joker, realizing he's been found out, undoes his image gum, and is a little surprised that Viridian was actually able to catch up to him, and Viridian just kind of mocks Joker, pointing out that it seems like this is one theft he won't be able to pull off. But Joker then asks Viridian what he would do if he said that the painting had already been stolen. And case in point, pulls a painting out of his cape, but only shows the back of it. So Viridian is a little concerned as to whether or not the painting is actually legit or not, and obviously Hachi compliments Joker on the fact that he was able to actually steal it, but Viridian is a little confused, and rightly so, because nobody should be able to actually be able to get inside the 100-year vault, let alone steal a painting from it before it even opens. So yeah, and there's even multiple running jokes that if you get stuck in there, you'll die. The long story short, you'll die of starvation and eventually die inside the vault. So nobody's stupid enough to go in there. But in any case, Viridian then proceeds to count down to when the vault actually opens, and it does open, only to discover that there's a crappy painting where the Recollection of Napoleon actually should be, and Joker turns it around to reveal that he has the Recollection of Napoleon in his hand. Viridian is a little shocked as to what exactly is going on, and remarks that he feels like realizes Joker has somehow pulled a fast one on him. And Joker and Hachi then proceed to celebrate their victory and proceed to leave the room, only to discover that the door they came through has been painted on. And Viridian reveals how his skills as a painter detective actually come in. As it turns out, when Oniyama came in, he actually painted over the door to make it look like a blank wall, and then used what is it called, illusion art, to make an optical illusion that looks like an actual working door. So Joker and Hachi are now stuck in the room, and they're pretty convinced that they actually came out of the room the same way they came in, but Viridian actually reveals that no, that's not the case. As it turns out, the floor rotates. It's part of the room. It's part of the design of the 100-year vault. It's designed to mark the passage of time. In case in point, it rotates alongside the vault. So at which point Joker and Hachi begin to panic because they realize they need to get out and they're actually stuck in a trap, and proceed to start knocking down several paintings to actually try and find the door. Only for Viridian to follow after them and repaint and paint several paintings to cover back up where they just searched. So by the time they're done with their search, all the paintings are back up in order, and they still have no idea where they're actually supposed to go. At which point Joker gets frustrated with Viridian and charges at him, but winds up getting handcuffed in the process. And Viridian then proceeds to gloat over Joker, pointing out that he's finally beaten the great Phantom Thief Joker, and proceeds to take the Recollection of Napoleon and put it back in the vault, swapping it out for the crappy picture, which he then throws aside because the vault's about to close. He doesn't have time to dawdle around. And when Hachi expresses his sorrow, pointing out that it was his fault that Joker actually got captured, Joker then points out that Hachi should just let it go, and that it'll actually be fine. But as they're remarking, they're actually kind of hungry. And Hachi reveals that he actually ordered takeout, and it's actually on its way to the Louvre. And ironically enough, this enables Joker and Hachi to actually find the exit so they can escape, because he literally just comes in through the painted over door. So they're able to find the exit based on that. At which point Joker snatches up the painting that Viridian had tossed aside, the crappy one. and proceeds to tuck it under his arm. But Hachi remarks that they had actually left the real recollection of Napoleon behind and proceeds to go into the 100-year vault to actually go and retrieve it. So, and Joker, realizing he can't leave Hachi behind and realizing Hachi is going to get stuck in the 100-year vault if he dawdles, proceeds to chase in after him, throwing a special smoke card at Viridian so that Viridian doesn't chase after him. At which point they proceed to escape while the smoke bomb clears. And although Viridian initially believes that Joker has actually gotten stuck inside the 100-year vault and believes that he's actually stuck inside, but upon further inspection realizes that Joker had actually clogged it with a piece of image gum so that it couldn't actually close. Although he does remark that Joker seems to have actually let the recollection of Napoleon behind and seems to have failed in his mission. But the curator thinks differently and actually lets out a sob in anguish at the recollection of when seeing the recollection of Napoleon. Which actually catches Oniyama's attention, who I have mentioned this earlier, but by this point he's actually running a successful ramen shop and proceeds to leave to go investigate. As Joker and Hachi are going to investigate to the ramen shop to actually order some ramen, and when they discover that the owner Oniyama has actually left, Hachi then proceeds to whip out his apron and proceeds to prepare some ramen, which winds up being even more successful than Oniyama's. And they proceed to kind of eat and recollect. But then as we then later find out why the curator is actually sobbing. As it turns out, the painting, the thing we've actually been led to believe is the recollection of Napoleon, isn't actually the recollection of Napoleon. As it turns out, the recollection of Napoleon was the crappy painting that Joker actually tucked under his arm when he left. As it turns out, yeah, something that has been described in this episode is that Napoleon actually painted the recollection of Napoleon himself, but what it failed to mention is that Napoleon is actually a terrible artist. So the recollection of Napoleon is actually a crappy piece of art in his likeness, and what Viridian believes was the recollection of Napoleon was actually just a sticker that Joker had left in the catalog to trick him into believing that it was the real recollection of Napoleon. So ironically, Joker didn't have to steal the recollection of Napoleon. He just had to make Viridian think he did by using a sticker to make it look like the recollection of Napoleon was indeed the painting that Joker had actually whipped out. But with that, Joker successfully steals the recollection of Napoleon and is never caught for it. So that's good. So yeah, this episode was kind of funny. So Viridian is gonna be a new character going forward. I can already tell he's gonna be a recurring character going forward. But it is very interesting that Joker was able to actually steal something from a vault that isn't able to be broken into simply by tricking a quote unquote art detective with fake art. It's a very funny gag that Viridian never picks up because, as Joker points out, he's supposedly to be an art expert, and yet he doesn't know that what the recollection of Napoleon actually looks like. So Joker wound up using that to his advantage. But in any case, that's gonna do it for my review of Kaitou Joker. What did you guys think? Let's get discussing over in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on with the channel, then that's the best way to do that. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon if you want to help support me. It's the best way to do that. If you guys want to do that, then by all means, go down the link in the description. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does help me out, and among other things, you will be listed on my website if you do that. But you also get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you actually go and support. So, by all means, go ahead and do that. Go check that out. And also, if you want to go support me even further, then be sure to check out my Twitch down in the description below as well. I stream every Sunday, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm trying to get that to grow as well, so if you guys want to go check that out, by all means, go ahead. We are currently going through a playthrough of Miitopia. I'm revisiting Miitopia, so if you guys want to, if you guys like Miitopia, by all means, go check that out, and also maybe send me a code so that I can actually use your Miis in the thing. But in any case, yeah, and finally, if you want to see more content from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is a video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So, if you want to try something new, or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But, regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!